Many experts predict that even after America emerges from its present economic problems, a more formidable financial challenge looms just over the horizon as its citizens have fallen behind on saving for retirement. A new study from the Society of Actuaries highlights the need for more access to affordable, quality financial advice for non-affluent U.S. consumers, those of moderate or low net worth. My guest is Dan Iannicola, a former Treasury official, and he's co-author of the study. Dan, welcome.
Happy to be with you.
According to the study, and in your mind, what are the factors that contribute to what the study calls a retirement savings crisis?
Well, many experts have documented what we all have been seeing over the last several years, and that's a confluence of factors that might cause us to have a crisis, both from the government side and the individual side. Certainly, we've all seen the reports about how the Social Security Fund is going to run into trouble in the future, but even as individuals, there are some changing dynamics that will make it problematic for American households. A few of those factors might be lifespans that are just growing by the year. We all are happy that our lifespans are getting longer, but if we outlive our money, that's going to be a problem. And so we notice that is happening. Also, we find that the shift to defined contribution retirement plans from defined benefit plans has put more of the onus on the individual investor. Now, that's something that people may like the autonomy, but they may not be equipped to handle it. So they may not be managing their money in a way that will put them in good stead for retirement.
The days of managing your own financial affairs is quickly disappearing, even though, I mean, it's probably not a great idea in the first part anyway. Talk about some of the barriers that you describe in the study here that prevent people of middle income or low income from getting good financial advice.
Well, part of this has just been that the financial services industry perhaps hasn't evolved the way that the households have been forced to evolve. That is to say, more low and moderate income people need more advice than they ever did before, yet the industry is really set up for the affluent customers. So a few of those barriers that come from the situation are the trust factor. If no one in your family has ever had a relationship with a financial advisor, you're a little concerned about being the first. So you don't know enough even to sit across the table. We call that on-ramp knowledge. You would like to at least know what annuity is before you hear a pitch about one, for instance. Also, there are sometimes structural problems. Some financial advisors will require a certain minimum to even handle your account. And obviously, middle net worth and low net worth individuals will have trouble clearing that hurdle. So these lack of knowledge issues, the lack of resources, and one thing that we found was particularly prevalent in all the interviews that we did and speaking to experts and the literature review was the lack of trust. People, it seems, would rather take mediocre to bad advice from a friend or family member whom they trust than perhaps good advice, perhaps bad advice from someone they don't trust. So that's a big gap that we see. The trust factor is very prevalent in this issue.
And that is due to the recent turmoil in the markets, and that people are their confidence has been shaken dramatically. Does it also seem logical that some of these products are so complex that it's even hard for financial advisors to convey them accurately?
I think that's right. I think what you mentioned about the recent turmoil certainly has heightened it. But as our financial service marketplace has grown more complex, our financial knowledge has just simply not kept pace. And that gap is where there's a need for more financial literacy, either self-taught or with the help of an advisor. And another factor is also there, and that's many advisors are not charging for their services per se, but it's rolled into the price of the product. And many consumers are a little leery that they may be receive a recommendation for a particular product or service, not because it's in their best interest, but because it provides the best margin to the advisor.
So it sounds like the responsibility to at least take steps into making this better would be on the advisor side.
Well, I think it's in their best interest. I mean, certainly transparency is something. People would rather know what they're paying. It's not so much the amount that scares them, it's not knowing the amount. And we think that if financial advisors could be more clear with individuals about how they are being charged, then it'll help people start to estimate the value of their services. And so I think that would be, that trust building, that clearing of the air, I think would help both sides.
Are there any other solutions you would say? Is there a need for less complex products, do you think?
I think having a variety of products are there. Certainly there are some individuals who have the financial competence to be able to take on the more financially sophisticated product. But having some basic products, I think, in the portfolio, I think would probably benefit financial advisors. I think there's some duty on the part of individuals to get up to speed. Like it or not, sometimes I've said before that American consumers have almost overnight been promoted to the position of CFO of their own household. And it's a promotion that many of them didn't want and certainly weren't equipped for. But be that as it may, they're in charge of their finances. So I think getting a little more financially literate on the part of households is important, just so that, not so that you can manage all of your own finances, but you can manage the individual who is managing your finances.
And it seems like most companies, big and small, have moved to some sort of 401k type of retirement program as opposed to a defined benefit program. And still, would it be safe to say that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of that?
A number of people aren't taking advantage of it, or they are frankly being a little too conservative for their lifespan and for their future needs. So they may just fall into the lowest or the most conservative option for the 401k. So yes, we do see a lack of enrollment, and then we see some people not making good use of the opportunities they have. And you're asking who can play a role and where the solutions are. Certainly we've seen a few, but only a few, employers really take on a responsibility of helping to educate their employees. They don't necessarily have to plan their portfolio for them, but they can be a trusted source that can provide financial literacy information for these individuals so that they feel a little more equipped, because the employer is really the one that's throwing their employees in the deep end a bit. Certainly they're giving them a great opportunity to manage their own finances through a 401k, but that responsibility without some education can be dangerous. And so we like to see it when employers feel the responsibility to help educate their employees on these matters.
My guest has been Dan Iannicola. He's a former Treasury official, and he co-authored the Society of Actuaries study we've been discussing. Dan, thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott, and I enjoyed it.
I'm Scott Drake, and you're watching Annuity News Now.